Is that just for recording purposes?
So I had to claim host to record, which we are now doing. So we're recording this session just so everyone knows. So I had to claim host to do that. And then we may have to switch over to you for the, I don't know if it'll let you screen share. Do you want to try screen sharing now just to see what we're in for?
Sure. Actually, I'm still in the other, so let me log out of that chat. Or I was in the other Zoom meeting.
I've got it set so multiple people can share, so I think we'll be fine. Yep, I've got you shared, so we're good.
Okay, all right. So Allison, you think we're ready?
I think we're ready.
All right, well, we've worked through the technology issues. They've bailed me out as they always do, SHP does. So I'm grateful that you're taking time in your busy schedules, and I hope your families are well. We've got an awesome opportunity tonight to share with you really some advanced stages of our design of our two new buildings, E.H. Green and Sycamore Junior High School. We've shared this with the board last night at our meeting. It's well received by our Board of Education. So you're really going to get kind of an active view of both of where we're at with the designs of those buildings, not only from the exterior, but we're going to actually walk you into the interior of each of those buildings, and it's going to be really, really cool. So again, I want to give many thanks to Allison and Greg and the entire SHP team for their great work. Our design process has gone incredibly well, despite all the other challenges that we faced, and we really didn't miss a beat. And so Zoom meetings, Google meetings were prevalent and daily and frequent. And so we're at a really good place. So I'm excited to turn it over to both Allison and Greg. Allison, I'm assuming, if there are questions, we want to use the chat function. Is that right?
Chat is certainly fine. I think this is a small enough group that if you want to unmute and ask a question, I think that's great as well.
Absolutely. Either way is fine. And so hang on, this is going to be really, really cool. So I'll turn it over to our friends from SHP.
Thanks. I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully you're looking at a blue screen now. That should look familiar because it's kind of our typical title screen. Everybody see that? Okay. Yeah. So I am going to go through just a couple slides. I'm going to kind of remind us of the goals that we have been working towards this whole time that were established in visioning. And I'm going to review very quickly the E.H. Green site plan and floor plan, as well as the junior high site plan and floor plan. You've seen these at various design stages, so they just continue to develop as we go through the design process. But the reason I'm going to go pretty quickly on these is that you're going to see them in a new and hopefully very interesting way today when Greg shares the 3D visualizations for both of those schools with you. So we're past the point of just looking at 2D plans, and we'll be able to actually visualize things in 3D. So that's why I want to leave as much time as possible for him. So jump right into these goals. Again, these are what we've been talking about every time, making sure that we're agile and adaptive, making sure that we're encouraging ongoing collaboration, being student-centered, and then focusing on the whole child. So all of those are things that we keep in mind as we move through this process, making various design decisions to make sure that our finished product is going to be what the district and your community expects. So E.H. Green, this is the current status of the site plan. So we're about a third of the way through design. So things are really starting to take shape, but there's still quite a bit of design left to do. So can you guys see my cursor here on the screen when I'm moving it?
Yes.
Great. So my cursor right now is over the 3 kind of large volume spaces that we're keeping. As we've talked about before, this is your current cafeteria and 2 gyms. Yeah. We're going to keep those 3 spaces, and then we're going to build to the north of that the new school. So we've got kind of the main entry here, bus drop-off separated in the back, and the main academic spaces kind of right off of that bus entry. If we go to the floor plan, you can see that all of those spaces have continued to develop. We've got our most public spaces with administration, dining, and music facing the main car drop-off that was on the left side of the screen on the site plan. And here's that big admin area that faces the bus drop-off. You're going to see all of that in 3D very shortly, but this should give you a good orientation to the overall plan for the building. We do have a second story of academics that stacks actually below this plan here because we have kind of a steep sloping site that you'll see in the 3D model as well. Here is that stacking academic area that, as I mentioned, is below the almost identical academic area above on this entry floor. So that is EH Green. We'll move into the junior high. And again, you'll see both of these in 3D very shortly. Sorry about that. The junior high is on the existing junior high site. The current building is kind of where this parking area, future parking area you're seeing is. So we're kind of filling a little bit of a hole between the current building and your existing football field here at this site. We have a main entry that faces the car drop, and then we have a bus and event entry that really enters near the new auditorium and gym spaces. If we go to the floor plan, just like you saw with green, we've got the administration area and some of the kind of shared or specials, if you will, special spaces with art and life skills up towards the main entry to be more public. And then as you proceed further into the building, you have an academic block similar, but with some notable differences to what we have at green. On the left side of your screen, you're seeing our big volume spaces, those special event spaces, the auditorium, a smaller auxiliary gym, and then a main gym. These were kept to this side of the site so that they interact really well with your existing stadium. Just like at green, we have a 2-story academic area. We're seeing the lower level now here as well. When you go to the lower level of this school, you see the student dining, again, up front near the car entry, and music, putting that up front and very prominent. And then again, as you kind of work your way into the building, you're entering that academic pod area. Greg will walk through all of those areas in greater detail, but do you have any questions right now on the flat 2-dimensional site plans and floor plans? Okay, I think they're all anxious to see your part, Greg, so I will let you take over the screen sharing.
Sounds good. Got my name in big bold letters on my own slide. That's awesome. All right, so I'm actually working on 2 computers. If some of you have seen me logged in, you can see my face and my name down in the corner. But you've also seen maybe my name show up separately on a screen. So I feel like I'm in the movie Being John Malkovich, where I'm kind of like inside myself, watching myself present. So it's a little bit surreal, but I'm going to do my best to focus on the buildings and not on kind of what I'm saying. But so as Allison mentioned, we presented this to the Board of Education last night. We did kind of a similar walkthrough that we're going to be doing tonight. We start these overviews, and we're going to do both the green school first, and then the junior high will be a similar experience. We start the overviews similar to how we started the 2D presentation, from an aerial view looking at the entire site. We have the benefit of just reviewing the site plans and the floor plans, so you have a little bit of background in terms of the kind of overall organization to the site and to the plans, but I'll be touching on a little bit of that as we kind of go through and walk through the model. The nice thing about these 3D models that we're looking at is they're both our visualization models, so they help us understand what the building's going to look and feel like, but they're also our working architectural models. So these provide the actual drawing information that we would use in our construction documents through the development process of this project. So starting with the Green School, the aerial image, you can see the overall site from this perspective. If we go up a little bit higher, you can see the Aldine Drive here to the bottom right of your screen. This is to the south of our site. Because we have limited access for our property onto Aldine, we tried to maintain as much separation between the car traffic here on the left and the bus traffic here on the right. The car traffic is using the same entrance that it's using now, and the buses are going to be using the service entrance to the kind of the right side of the property, and the buses will be going around to the east side of the building where the students will be dropped off directly into the academic wings, as Allison mentioned. Students arriving by car will come in through the main entrance and go straight towards the administration and the front entry. You can see just how much queuing area that we have along here. That's one of the challenges that we have both at the Green School and especially at the junior high. The amount of car queuing space we've been able to increase dramatically because of the distance that these buildings are set back from the street. And that is primarily driven by the fact that we have the existing building currently in the front of where our new building will be. Right now where we're showing the new soccer field and the new baseball field here on the southeast portion of the site is where our existing building is. As Allison mentioned, we've got the 3 volumes, the existing dining space, which is going to be renovated into the music rooms, and the 2 gymnasiums, which are going to be preserved and updated to be both gymnasiums for the Green School. One of the benefits that we have in having 2 gymnasiums and being able to keep them is that we typically don't have two gymnasiums offered for grade levels 5 and 6. So having these 2 gymnasiums really offers the students more flexibility in terms of using them during the academic day, as well as using them after school and also access for the community. So we're able to preserve both gymnasiums for the district. So from here, I'm going to kind of fly you down into the main approach. So from this vantage point, we'll see kind of what it's like to arrive, assuming kids are coming via drone, which they will be probably in the next 20, 30 years. Cars will be obsolete, so we won't really need car parking. We'll just drone all of our kids to school. But from the approach, you can see the kind of main roof entry, the roof form over top of the main administration volume, which is right in front of us here. All of the windows provide some natural light into the various office and conference spaces. From this perspective, you can see the roof form on the top part of the roof that's kind of sloping with, it's a little bit dark on your screen, but there's a sycamore leaf represented on the roof. This roof form offers some daylight. I'll kind of take you around to the back of it. Some daylight into some of the interior spaces. So the clear story windows that you see on the back side of this roof form bring some daylight down into our clinics, as well as some of the other interior spaces in the administration area. So there's a function as well as a kind of architectural aesthetic reason for doing that. As this roof form extends out, you can see it stretches over towards the main entrance. And the main entrance is set back here with signage on the left-hand side. Right now we're showing conceptually kind of a potentially green glazed tile, some material that begins to identify a distinction in the architecture that signifies, along with the signage and the Sycamore district logo there, an entry into the Green School. And then set back, you can see behind these columns, we have our large glass vestibule. And this is a secure vestibule. One of the things that we consistently talk about through this process, both within our internal teams as well as with all of our consultants, is this idea of security. So this vestibule provides, much like the school has now, a first point of security where visitors can come in. They'll be able to check in at the front reception desk, where we can, you can see from this vantage point, anybody who's working here at the reception has a clear view out to the parking lot beyond through those windows. So they'll be able to see anybody's coming and going, students, visitors, parents. They get a really good view of that front entry. There's a waiting area here if parents are coming to pick up students, either for being sick or for outside appointments. And then once the visitors are released, they'll be let directly into where we have this kind of central dining room. One of the challenges that we have at the existing green school is the dining room is kind of on the far northern part of the campus. So students have to kind of meander through a series of kind of zigzag corridors to get to the dining. And with it being a space that's rather detached from the academics, it's not able to be used as an extension of the academic spaces. So one of our primary drivers in the overall building organization was to bring together some of these larger gathering spaces like the dining and the media center and locate them centrally within the organization of the floor plan. So visitors and students coming to the school will go right into the dining room, and you can see that we're representing the dining, the seating with a mix of kind of functional seats, rectangular tables, as well as some soft seating, some booths type seating. This allows the students to have some choice when they want to be able to use this both for their dining experience in the middle of the day, but also for academic use when they're in the beginning or the end of the day, when the teachers can bring the students out in large teams and they can gather here for discussions or presentations, or really just even a change of scenery to get them out of the classroom and provide some of that flexibility. You can see from these perspectives that we've got the large glass on the south. We're looking at the south part of the dining room now. You can see the daylight coming in on the floor, providing the shadow lines. This opens up to a courtyard, which can be used both for kind of an extension of dining, where students might be able to go and have some outdoor seating, as well as what we're showing out here. We're showing a little amphitheater type space where students can come outside to give presentations and discuss some outdoor learning activities. This is on the back side of the existing dining room, where we've converted it to the music rooms. So just through the glass here, you can peek inside some of our spaces that lead into the existing music rooms. And over here, you can see we have a door that leads out from the music rooms to this area so that students in the general music class can come outside and use this for performance and practice, rehearsal, or even just to kind of get outside and get some fresh air. So we use the courtyard as both a functional academic educational space for outdoor learning, as well as bringing in daylight to some offices in the admin area and into the dining and music rooms. You'll see from this perspective that we've got some stairs here right in front of us. Those step up to a smaller stage. Right now, the stage that we currently have is about 30 plus inches above the floor level in the existing dining room. That's great for performances, but it's hard to really use in terms of day-to-day use for students. So it's really off limits in terms of general dining. But this, just being a few steps up and having ramps on either side so it's easily accessible for all students, can be really used as an extension of the dining space. And one of the key things about how we've organized these spaces in terms of, in addition to the dining and the media spaces being central to the overall organization, the floor plan, these two hallways, one on the south side on the right here and one on the north, go directly down and feed very, very directly into the academic pods that are on the first and the second floors. Right now we're on the upper level, so we're on the second floor. But that provides very direct circulation for students going to and from their classrooms. Easy for the students to navigate, easy for them to get to. They're no longer going down one corridor to get to another corridor to get to another corridor. They come right out to this main circulation, and that will take them directly into the dining space. As we walk down this main corridor, we open up into some of the more creative spaces. One thing that Allison mentioned when we were looking at the floor plans was this idea of integrating the arts and the specials. So we've got arts, STEAM spaces, maker spaces, media center, all kind of co-located here at the really the core of the space, the core of the experience. So if we go a little further, we can look down into the lower level media center. And one thing you'll notice immediately about the Media Center is, in addition to being a two-story space, it overlooks its own smaller courtyard space. That provides some daylight into as well as outdoor access from the Media Center, where students can go outside and have outdoor learning experiences, get some fresh air, take their books outside and read. And it's a secure courtyard space. So in addition to providing the daylight, it provides some secure outdoor space for outdoor learning for the students. That's to the left of this circulation. Just to the right, you can see we've got great visibility into the art rooms. This is something that we wanted to be able to celebrate the arts. So in addition to kind of using celebrating the music spaces, both here at the Green School and the junior high, we really want to celebrate the physical arts, the visual arts, and all the STEAM spaces that come with it. So on the upper level here, we have our two art rooms, one on the south, one on the north. And we have large glass that looks into those rooms. So as students walk by these spaces every day, whether they're going to music or whether they're going to dining or to the gymnasiums for gym time, they'll be able to see into the art rooms and see what other students are creating, and be part of that creative process. So as we mentioned, we have a direct access down into the pods from our organizational plan. If you remember, we've got kind of 4 quadrants. So we've got 2 pods in the upper, the northern academic area, and 2 pods in the southern academic area on each floor. So we have 8 pods total, and those become kind of our 8 communities for the students. So I'm going to take you into one of those now. When we go through these doors, and again, these doors are directly off of this main circulation. Right off of the Media Center, you can see direct in front of us, and just beyond in that opening is where our dining is. So if I just turn left here and go right into through these doors, I'm immediately brought into the extended learning area of the academic pod. And the way that we've organized these pods is we have 2 paired classrooms built around this extended learning area. In the extended learning area, you can see that we have a mix of different types of furniture. We've got some booth seating, some high top tables, some standard desks or standard tables with chairs. We've got some soft rollable seating. So this provides students a little bit of autonomy when they can come out here and do group activities, but still be within their learning communities. So this will offer a space for teachers to bring smaller groups out, or they can bring their entire classroom out and have a different setting. You can see the TVs that we have on the stands here. The TVs will provide the kind of digital platform for instruction if they want to share presentations or go over some projects or assignments. We've got rolling whiteboards here. And then student storage is always a challenge for us. And so through conversations with the teachers and administration, the choice was made to bring the student storage out of the classrooms and put that storage into the extended learning areas. So students that are in all the classrooms in this pod will have access to their resources and materials through their lockers outside of the classroom, but without having to leave that secure pod.
If I could just jump in for 1 second. I know this looks really final. I know you see furniture, you see lockers, you see lots going on here. These are basically placeholders at this point. We want to show you the types of activity that go into these spaces, but we're still going to have lots of conversations about exactly what that table is. You know, are chairs on rolling wheels the right choice, or is that a bad choice for your district? We're going to talk through all of that as we go through this. And you probably, Greg, I'm sorry if you already mentioned this, I was working on locating the recording that we're doing. We're showing things in white so that you can visualize the kind of feeling of the space without yet thinking about kind of what materials these things are, what colors they are, because again, those decisions are yet to be made.
Yeah. And as we go through, as Allison mentioned, as we go through the design development phase where we're at right now, we're going to be working through and testing out different colors and material choices. And we'll actually be incorporating those into this model. Like we said, it's both a visualization model as well as a working model. So we'll be putting the information from the choices for colors and materials, both floors, ceilings, walls, furniture, all that will be going into the model, and that's when the model really comes to life. A few more things to point out in here. We talked about the 2 paired classrooms. So directly in front of us, you can see the large glass opening with the double doors. That provides access to one classroom. And then the smaller door to the right here provides access to its partner classroom, its pair. And then in between those classrooms right now, we're showing a operable partition that can allow those classrooms to open up completely to each other to encourage the kind of collaborative teaching. One of those guiding values that we had from the very beginning of our presentation. Just to the right, if I pan over here, you can see another one of those operable partitions. This one is between the classroom that's beyond and the extended learning area that's directly in front of us. This will allow that classroom and the extended learning area to open to each other and allow virtually the entire team, all 125 or 120 students, come together in this pod and work kind of in a large collaborative setting. In addition to the pods, we have access to some special education spaces as well as teacher resource areas. Those are all kind of accessed within the pod. We've got restrooms in the pod behind these 2 doors on the left here with hand washing out in the pod itself. So students who need to go to the restroom, they don't necessarily have to leave the pod to be able to use the restroom. And once they're done with the restroom, they don't need to stay in there to wash their hands. They can come out so that other students can use that restroom. And then students who just need to wash their hands for whatever reason throughout the day can go to the hand wash station here without having to go in and occupy a restroom. You can see as soon as we come out of the pod, we're directly in front of the courtyard space that's for the media center, and the students from this pod can turn directly left and go straight down to the dining space, be there within like 100 feet. So it's a pretty close proximity. I'm not going to go into all of the pods because all 8 pods are virtually identical with similar arrangements. You can see some of the doors as we walk along the corridor. Those provide access into some additional special education spaces, resource rooms, small spaces for student breakout. But I am going to take us down to the first floor where we have the bus entry now. So students that are arriving by bus will come into the building this way. You can see the bus markings or the markings that we have on the pavement for the bus drop off, and all of this, the buses will come to the north here, turn around, and then queue up along the face of the building where they can go directly into the main bus entry. The nice thing about the bus entry is that we've set it up so it's got great visibility from inside and out. So anybody who's kind of monitoring the kids coming getting on and off the buses can see them kind of flow into the building and make their way to their different academic pods. One of the things that we've worked out with the administration and the teachers is providing access to breakfast area through a concession stand just inside the main lobby. So what we're looking at is a concession window that will provide the breakfast snacks for the students in the morning. Instead of having them get off the bus and have to go up to the dining space to get their breakfast and then come back to their classrooms, they'll be able to come in, pick up their breakfast from this concession and go straight into the other classrooms just like every other student. So there's a certain equality there for students who are picking up breakfast versus those that are not. The stairs lead up to the 2 northern academic pods, and this hallway leads down to the 2 southern pods. And you can see just how quickly we get right back to this central courtyard, the media center, and then the 2 stairs that are in the media center that lead up to where our upper level dining is. You can see within the media center, we're showing bookshelves as well as some different types of seating for the students to use. They can gather for small presentations with a digital display here in front of us, some booth and table seating next to the daylight so they can sit down and have small conversations or group learning. And then behind the wall where we have some of the book resources, this is where we're showing our makerspace. So you can see within this space that we've got some high top working tables for students to use when they're working on their projects together. We're showing 3D printers, kind of counter level 3D printers with lots of storage on all of the walls. Some tall cabinet storage in the back, some upper level and lower level storage on the counters on this back wall. And that provides all the resources that the students need. Some open shelving here for student projects that are in progress. And this is directly accessed from the Media Center. So all those kind of creative resources are centrally located for the students. And then students that have classes on the lower level can come directly up the stairs, or we have an elevator that's within the academic pods. And once they're up at the top, go right down the ramp and you can see that we're back into the dining space. So the goal of kind of centrally locating some of these core community functions like the dining and the media center really help kind of bring the students together. It's easy to navigate for the students. They can go directly into behind these doors to get their resource or their food. In here we'll have the serving area and the kitchen, the prep area beyond with some of the storage. That's been laid out by our kitchen consultants. We just don't have it modeled in there right now. And then we'll just take you back out to the front where we can get kind of an overview of the exterior of the building again.
We did have a question in the chat asking if bicycle rider entry will be the same as car rider. We haven't actually located the bike racks yet. We'll do that in collaboration with the landscape architect and the civil engineer. It's typically with the car entry, but again, we haven't specifically located that yet for this project.
You can see the benches that we're showing on either side of the main entry here. The two double doors that take us through the secure vestibule. I could imagine potentially on the left side having some bike rack storage, lockable storage for students who do choose to ride their bikes. They can park and secure their bikes up next to this where we have these benches shown right now. Or we might put them out more on the sidewalk, kind of just off the main sidewalk. But as Allison mentioned, that's something that we haven't specifically discussed. So I'm going to go into Superman mode so we can take a look at the kind of aerial view of the overall building again and open it up for some questions.
I think you should be able to unmute yourself if you have a question, so please feel free to do that.
Did you say on the each pod there was the restrooms and the hand washing station? Is that in each, I assume?
Yes,
And
each pod is organized identically. So each pod has 2 restrooms and outside the restroom hand washing station.
And is there also a hand washing station in the restroom? Is that like an extra one, or I'm just curious?
I would have to
Suddenly
look at
I'm obsessed with hand washing stations.
That's okay.
So what we did here at this building is the compartment has the toilet alone, so that kids would it would speed up kids moving through those areas. And then we've kept the hand washing kind of separate. So not only does it speed people through the restrooms, but it's also much more accessible than if you just want to wash your hands.
That's fine. I just was curious.
Yeah. Every school is a little different, and honestly, we approach it a little differently at every school.
Yeah.
And when we started designing this school, COVID-19 wasn't even a topic of conversation. So
right.
the fact that we have
right.
more places of accessibility for hand washing, I think is a good thing.
Right.
I have a couple of questions. So how much traffic, like, will you be able to dismiss all the kids from car traffic straight into the building? No one's gonna have to park and then have the kids cross through that traffic?
We will do studies that look at the amount of stacking space. We have specifically designed this to have extensive stacking space. We'll work through that with the school district on how they want to operate things. What typically school districts do is they set kind of a set point that the first car stops at. and then you kind of back up for a certain amount of time, release, then kind of that wave of cars moves on, and you kind of repeat. So my guess is you'll have a couple different waves like that at a school this large. Certainly if anyone with the school district wants to jump in on that, feel free.
Yeah, so Mike, thanks for the question. That's somewhat of an operational issue. We'll work with the building administration along with, once the design gets a little bit more clear in terms of how they want to handle that. It could be an issue of timing too, how, when cars start pulling up, when then do you allow students to be released from their cars to come in, and, you kind of do it in packs, for lack of a better term, from the front to how far back you want to allow a number of kids to get out, a number of cars. They get out, and then you let those go, and then another group comes in. That's typically how that works. So we'll work with the principal and the team, and once we figure that out.
Let's see. I just have a general question. Is there ever an issue with drainage with flat roofs?
So flat roofs aren't really flat, as it's kind of a misnomer. Our flat roofs have a very small but very effective slope to them. Yeah. So, and the other thing with flat roofs is they all drain to a drain that also has a backup secondary drain. So if there was some really heavy rain event that caused rain to fall faster than that one drain can handle, or if that one drain were to get clogged for some reason, we always have a secondary. Now, any roof, flat or sloped, could potentially leak if it's not installed correctly. So in my experience with school roofs, honestly, the asphalt shingle roofs tend to leak more than anything I've ever seen. But through good detailing and good construction administration, making sure things are installed correctly, we've had really good success with these low slope roofs.
Awesome question from our awesome physics teacher at the high school.
And
I have a question, Frank.
Yeah, Leif, go ahead.
Talking about stormwater, have you guys thought about the stormwater collection in terms of having cisterns to use it for the grounds and watering? So having a location for a cistern on site. So that's the first one. And the second one is, with the COVID-19, has it impacted any of the designs in terms of, future considerations of spacing and things like that? Thanks.
Yeah, so Greg, feel free to answer these too, but I have opinions on everything, so I'll start off. Our general philosophy with landscape design is to make it as low maintenance as possible. So while I am a proponent of water collection, we actually try to make it so that the plantings that we do not require any sort of ongoing watering, because we know that can be a real struggle for a district that already has a bunch of other priorities. So if we were to do plantings that required watering, we might be, I think, more inclined to look at water collection. But in this case, we're again really shooting for that low maintenance kind of variety of plantings. As far as COVID-19 goes, we are participating in quite a few research projects, design charrettes, to really understand what the implications of COVID-19 are going to be in the short term as well as moving forward. I think the real answer is, unfortunately, that none of us really has a good grasp on the exact answer. Our school buildings just simply are not designed to be large enough to accommodate spacing all of our kids 6 feet apart from each other at all times. So we are doing things like those flex classroom spaces that can help us spread some students out a little bit. Certainly different management of lunch periods, timing issues, that sort of thing can come into play. We are starting to pay a little more attention to the high touch surfaces and what the appropriate materials are for that, so that they're highly cleanable and maybe even have some antimicrobial properties to them. So there's a whole variety of strategies that we're starting to really work through with school districts to understand what is feasible and could be the most effective for them.
Thank you.
Anything else on green, or should we jump over to the junior high?
I just had a comment on how gorgeous the building looked in general, I can tell you. And the feedback I that going through the meetings of kind of what little different touches you had across the whole building. So in general, I'd say, what a great job by everybody, the district and the architects.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
My one quick question would be, when there are events in the gym, like a holiday basketball tournament, will there be access to the gym straight into the gym, or will the people funnel through the school, or will there be enough room with those existing gyms that there's like a general area where people can enter and then go into said athletic event?
So we know that we're wanting to be able to keep the gyms open for the community after hours without having to bring people through the school. We've discussed with the district having
I'm sorry to interrupt you, not necessarily like keeping them open for the general public, but we have like a holiday basketball tournament. So like when you're in between games, some teams get there early with their parents and their fans, and then the other teams are still meeting. So like, would they get funneled? Where would that meeting space be, I guess, is my question.
So we will have what we will call like an event or an athletics entrance here. It hasn't kind of specifically been shown because the challenge with that is it's where the existing building's being taken down. So we have to put something back there to close off that circulation so the students can have access from the school. But we will build into that an athletics entrance or an event entry for people to be able to access on the weekends or after hours when there are tournaments and other things going on. In terms of designing that so it's large enough to accommodate people in transition, I'm not sure that we're going to really have a pre-function space like that. I think people will be able to gather in the gyms. We will have some corridors there that will have some access to restrooms, certainly. It's really going to be up to the district in terms of how much of the building do they want to open up for tournaments like that.
Yeah, and that may be, yeah, Ben, I think you're asking, are there going to be overflow spaces? And so I think Greg hit it. I think it'll be contingent upon the volume of people we have, and we're working with certainly the building administration and custodial staff to see if that's required. What are there a part of the building we could provide access for the participants and or the spectators of that. So we'll consider that, as we do in all areas.
To get more detailed about your question, this is the corridor that will access both gymnasiums, and then that goes straight into the area between the dining and the media center, so right into the heart of the building. The nice thing about where that's located is students coming from the academic areas from those two main circulations will be able to go down to get access to the gymnasiums without having to intermingle or cross over into the dining spaces, so we can keep those two student flows separate. But having that access to that the larger dining space, we could potentially, where we have large events, open that dining area up with proper supervision and have people be able to kind of use that as a pre-function or a staging space.
Okay, well, let's shift over to the junior high, and so I have time to walk through that and take some questions on it as well.
Okay, it's going to take me a minute just to kind of, I've got the model queued up. I just need to kind of restart the visualization. So give me a couple minutes to get that started.
I did see a couple questions in chat that I will address while Greg is bringing up the new model. So will breakfast pickup area on the back side of the school impede flow into the school? They're currently at Green, they're doing kind of a cart-based breakfast service with more of a grab-and-go format. So we feel confident that something quick like that, but housed in a more permanent location within Green, will be a really great solution for ease of pickup, equity with students riding the bus not having to go to the other side of the building without negatively impacting the flow. We've got a nice little generous space there to handle that. The other question I'm seeing is what areas will the students have access to for recess? We're still kind of working on play areas, but the idea is that the play areas will be sort of north of the building for grassy play areas, and then kind of where the bus parking is for paved areas. So still in development, but there will be plenty of both soft and hardscape for recess. Is there still a walking path? Greg, I don't know if you're more familiar with that part of the site than I am at this point as far as fields are concerned. I know that that has been a discussion item. Do you know where we stand with that?
The intent is for us to have a walking path. We know because of the shifting of the site components, both the play fields as well as the parking, that walking path is going to kind of move with the fields. So it might end up being in the front. And I believe in some of our site plans, we might be showing a walking path that goes around where the baseball field and the soccer field are, that are over the existing footprint right now. But in terms of its final location, I think that's still to be determined. But yes, the intent is we will have a walking path because we know that's important for the community. All right, I've got my model queued up here. So very similar to how we started the Green School conversation, we're going to look at an aerial overview of the entire site. Because this is our working model, you might see some components floating around that don't necessarily make sense where they are, but those are just kind of part of little side studies that we do as we're going through the design process. But from this perspective, we can see Cooper Road to kind of the lower right of our screen. We are kind of north over the houses in Blue Ash, or looking, I guess in Montgomery, looking south towards the campus. So the existing building is going to be, as Allison described, mostly on this parking area that's on the northeast part of the site. So we have to build to the southwest part of the site, which ultimately, when we looked at the site plan, is rather centrally located to the overall site. We were able to position the building with some modifications to the existing building for the construction, fairly central to the overall site, which gives us opportunities to provide car and bus traffic to the north, keeping them from having to kind of circulate all the way through the site, and still giving us enough space to the south and southwest, southeast of the site to preserve some play fields and athletic spaces. The existing stadium, including the field that's with it, is going to stay in its place. That's kind of in the upper part of the screen here. It's not represented in there right now, but that's the space, the location for it. And we are showing new tennis courts just to the north of the stadium. And as Allison mentioned, the combination of the existing stadium with some of the new athletic fields and the two new gymnasiums and their location is designed to create kind of a central athletic space for all students and student resources, whether they're doing indoor sports activities like in the gymnasiums or outdoor sports activities on any of the fields. The overall organization of the site is similar. We wanted to keep a separation between car and bus traffic. So the cars are using our primary signalized intersection right there on Cooper Road, kind of at the bottom middle of our screen. And that's where all cars will come in. Similar to how we talked about the queuing area, the distance that we're showing at the Green School, we have a much more extensive queuing area for cars along this sidewalk that leads into the main entrance right here underneath the leaf on the screen. And so we'll be able to bring significantly more cars off the streets and allow students to safely get in and out of the cars as they're transitioning at the beginning and end of the days. Cars from this point will be able to continue to circulate around, and then cars that are going east on Cooper Road will be able to exit through this exit and turn right onto Cooper Road. Cars that are going to go west towards Blue Ash can continue forward to the signalized intersection where they can make a safe left-hand turn onto Cooper Road and head back towards Blue Ash. The bus drop-off is using the same curb cut that we have currently for the buses to access, but instead of going behind the building, to access the drop-off. It's going to be right up front. So we have two queuing lines for the buses, one that's closer to the building and one that's set back a little bit closer to the street. Operationally, the students will be able to come in, all the buses will queue up, the students will be dismissed, and they have two options from that point when they're getting off the bus. They can go in the main entrance. They can take the sidewalks or the stairs up to the main entrance, which again is underneath the sycamore leaf, or they can go down through the event entry, which is on the right side, and that feeds directly into the circulation for the theater space and the gymnasiums, but will allow access for the students to then funnel through inside to get to the classroom spaces. So students have some choice when they're getting off the buses of which entrance they can go into. And then after the students are dropped off in the morning, the event entry will be closed, locked, and secured, and all visitors coming during the school day will have to come through the main entrance, much like we had at the Green School. From this perspective, we can see the kind of three main volumes. The front volume here, that's underneath the canopy. This is where we have all of our kind of creative, our specials. We have art, life skills, music spaces, dining and food service are on the lower level. Administration is on the upper level with our secure entrance. The volume that's in the back left from this view is our primary academic volumes. The organization is similar to that of the Green School, where we have our 4 pods on each floor, 2 to the north, 2 to the south. The difference between what we showed at the Green School and what we're showing here at the junior high is we have science rooms that are kind of centrally located between those 4 pods. That provides the kind of department organization that is slightly different than what we have at the Green School, where we can have our English department, our history, social studies, our math, and our foreign language, each having their own pod. And then the science has its own consolidated spaces at the center of all 4 of those pods. So that provides a more intentional spatial organization for the junior high students that's slightly different than what the Green School students will experience. And then, as I mentioned, with the event entry on the right, that takes students to the theater that's just up front here, near the main entrance, the event entry. And then behind that, down this circulation, we have the 2 gymnasiums, the auxiliary gym and the main gym to the far south. And in between those, on the first floor, we have our student locker rooms and some office spaces. And on the upper level, we have some restrooms for visitors and fans and our wrestling room. So with that, I'm going to kind of take you down via drone delivery to the main entrance. So students coming via the car will kind of come in along this main entrance. That sidewalk extends all the way out to Cooper Road. So any students that are walking to the campus or riding their bikes will have secure access. They won't have to cross over any vehicles. They can go directly from the sidewalk, get onto campus, and get to the main entrance without having to cross any sort of car circulation paths. Students will get dropped off here at the main entrance. And then from here, they can go into the main entrance past the offices and conference rooms on the left, where we have daylight and great visibility from those into the secure vestibule. Visitors can come in and check in at the main entrance, but the student experience, they'll go right through these 2 doors and into that main dining space. And again, similar to how we organized the Green School, and also slightly based on what is currently existing at the junior or at the high school, we're entering on the upper level, and then we come right into this dining space, a large gathering space that's easily accessed for all the students from their academics, from their specials, so that they can use this space off dining hours, before and after dining hours, so that students can come here. You can see that we're showing a mix of different types of seating, with some soft seating, some booths, benches, round seating. So students have a little bit of choice when it comes to where and how they want to sit and organize to use this as an academic space. The stair here that you can see right near the main entrance, provides direct access down for students that want to go down. And then these doors on the left, or right in front of us, these doors lead straight back past the main media center and go directly into the academics. So no longer do we have a kind of green mile type space in this building. Everything is very consolidated, compact, so that the student circulation, much like we experienced at Green, is very straightforward and intentional. From this point, the students also have the ability to go down this corridor past the dining on the right, and that will take us to the specials. The arts and life skills are on the upper level, and music is on the lower level. But one of the real benefits of the way we've organized these spaces, and the circulation in particular, is that much like how we displayed the art at the Green School, we have some great visibility through some display cases into the art rooms at the junior high. So students in their day-to-day circulation will be going past the art rooms and be able to see inside, see all the creative work and interesting ideas that are being developed in the art rooms. And in addition, one thing that we don't often show off are the music rooms. And so with the music rooms being on the lower level, we actually have an opportunity through the kind of glass at this upper level to look down into like the choral spaces. So students that are walking along this circulation will be able to look down and see students rehearsing, practicing their choral music. And then if they go a little bit further, we can look down into the band and orchestra room to see the practices going on there. And as everybody knows, glass walls can transmit some sound. We're actively researching techniques to limit the amount of sound transfer, but I think a little bit of hearing what's going on is part of that creative process. And you can see within both of those rooms, we've got some great daylight. All three of these spaces, the dining space and both of the music spaces, face north, so we get some great northern daylight into those spaces. And all three of those spaces, the two music rooms and the dining space, have access to outdoor spaces. So students can go outside for outdoor dining, or if they want to kind of go practice their instrument outside, they can go outside the music rooms and practice their instruments. Again, on the left, we've got our 3 art rooms with great visibility into those to see the student activities. And then straight ahead, we have access into our event entry. The upper level here, these doors provide access into the theater. So visitors coming through the event entry can come up the stairs or the elevator that's close by here, right into these doors. And we've got kind of a lower bowl of seats that face the large stage. The stage is, I think, slightly bigger. Allison, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's slightly bigger than the stage we currently have at the junior high. It's big enough to hold.
About the same size, but I think proportioned a little bit better, so that hopefully it will feel a little bigger.
Yeah, we have a bit of a stage thrust here, but the goal was to be able to get an entire orchestra on the stage for performances. And with access to the upper level, we can keep the students on the lower level and keep them separate from visitors and guests who are coming. We're not currently showing, but we do have additional seats on this upper level. And I think our goal was 850. Does that sound right, Allison?
Sorry, struggling for the unmute. Yes, 850 is the target.
850 seats in the theater. The nice thing about the way we've organized the theater is that it's directly adjacent to the music spaces. So in terms of performances, students will be able to use the music rooms as kind of pre-function or staging areas for rehearsals or kind of makeup, prep, anything that they have to do for performances. When we go down the main corridor here, we have access into the 2 gymnasiums. This is our auxiliary gym, which is set up with a kind of a long competition court that goes east-west, and then 2 shorter, smaller, but still functional practice courts that run north-south on either side. This being the auxiliary gym, we do have a few bleachers so that when we do have tournaments, we'll be able to use both the auxiliary gym as well as the main gym and provide some spectator seating for those. But this being the auxiliary gym, we have slightly less spectator seating than we do have for the main gym, which is at the end of the corridor here on the right side. And you can see in this perspective, we've got full bleachers that go all the way down to the athletic floor. But the goal with this, being able to utilize the upper and lower levels, the spectators and visitors will come in from the upper level so that we're not traipsing the outdoor shoes across the court, so we can preserve the quality and condition of the court for a longer period of time. Keeping the spectators and visitors on the upper level, allowing the students and the competitors down on the lower gym level. And from the gym floor, they'll have access to the lockers, which are on the first floor in between the main and the auxiliary gym. The setup is similar. We've got striping for our main competition court. Because this is a slightly larger gym, we've got 2 slightly larger practice courts that run north-south. And then we have striping for the additional activities of volleyball, both competition as well as practice, and other activities that would go on inside our gymnasiums. So from here, I'm going to take us back to that main entrance. So we're going past the arts on the right and the music on the left. And so here we're back at our main entrance. And from here, we'll go directly down to the north-south corridor that takes us past the lower level media center, which you can see we got good visibility down into it, similar to how we arranged the media center at both the Green School and how the hub functions at the high school. So this space provides that kind of sense of continuity for the students from the Green to the junior high to the high school in terms of how the spaces are arranged and how they function. Directly past the media center, we enter right into the academic pods. And as we described, there's kind of a set of quadrant organization with some small extended learning areas on the lower level that have access for all of the classrooms in that quadrant. But similar, we've got 4 classrooms in each quadrant that provide the discipline-based or the department-based function, whether it's mathematics, English, foreign language, or history, social studies. And then from the upper level, you can see down into the extended learning area, and they have access directly from a stair. The upper level classrooms can use the stairs, or we have an elevator, I believe that's inside of our academic pod, our academic communities, to provide access down to the lower level extended learning areas. These are set up similar to how we set up the ELAs in the Green School, with some flexible seating, some digital displays and whiteboards for students to use as kind of breakout activities. And then you can see the doors that lead into the classrooms from the ELAs, some single doors with side lights, some larger double doors that provide more or better connectivity into those extended learning areas. With the way that we've organized these outdoor courtyards, the outdoor learning spaces, we get the benefits of both daylight into the extended learning areas, which are often secluded from the exterior because they're kind of centrally located within the classrooms, and the classrooms get the primary access to the daylight. But the way that we've been able to shape this building, we brought the courtyards closer to the ELAs to get daylight into the ELAs and provide some access to outdoor learning. Right now we're just showing grass, kind of very simple, but the goal would be that we would design this to be a functional outdoor learning area where students can access it during the day for outdoor learning activities. All the quadrants are similar, with the 4 classrooms, and the science rooms are to my right behind the lockers. You can see with the high windows that we've got some daylight opportunities to bring daylight into those classrooms. And then those are outfitted with setups for lab space, storage, hand eye wash stations, teacher desk, lots of sinks all around, and storage all around for scientific equipment and resources. So this is a pretty typical science room. And again, the 4 science rooms are organized together so they can function as their department. Actually, I will go down stairs so you can see just how easy it is to get from the academic pods into the dining space. So students can come either down these stairs or come down the stairs that are in the media center and come right to the main central circulation. And you can see that once we go through these doors, that we've got access directly to the media center on our left. Here's the stairs that come down for the media center. And then directly in front of us is our dining space with the serving area to the right behind these openings. So no longer do the students have to traverse through other departments, other classes to get to the dining space. The dining is centrally located and provides great access for all students. You can see from this ground level view that we've got the different types of seating. It's organized so that it's a little bit closer to the media center, so that the students that are using the resources from the media center can use the furniture that will function dually as seating for the media center as well as dining seating during the dining periods. The serving area on the right, I promise we're not going to have a green mound in our serving area. That's just part of our modeling process. But the students from the dining room down on the lower level here can go outside and have access to an outdoor learning or an outdoor dining space where we can put some outdoor dining tables. We've got the kind of stepped seating where students can use the step seating. They can sit there and kind of gather, eat their lunches together. And that brings us right back to the main entrance.
So I think we're ready for questions on this one.
I have elementary age kids at this point, so I don't know how students of junior high live, but were those little squares in the hallway, were those lockers?
Yes, similar to
What
how
do they
we've
put in
organized.
them?
I'm sorry?
What do they put in them? How does anything fit?
They're bigger than they look.
Okay.
Right now, if you've been in the existing green school and the junior high, they've got fairly, especially at the green school, very narrow lockers that are designed primarily just for like a coat hanging on the lower part and some book storage on the upper part, or maybe a lunchbox. So these lockers are intentionally larger. The intent is that they'll be able to put their coat, some books.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the intent is that they'll be able to carry their book bags with them. But because of the way that we've organized these departments all together and having the student storage in the extended learning areas, students will have access outside of the classroom to get to their student storage without having to leave the overall academic community.
Okay.
We're kind of in a really, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If it's a coat and books, I guess that's,
Yeah.
they just so small.
We're at a really transitional point with lockers. A lot of districts are talking about getting rid of them altogether, but there still seems to be a need for, the coat, potentially the lunch, that sort of thing. So trying to provide an individual space for each student, but also, again, not take up more space than we need to, since the learning space itself is so important.
What do students do with like athletic equipment and things they need to change into, and do those go in those lockers as well, or do they go elsewhere?
Typically, those go in the gym associated lockers or for a specific sport. Each district handles things a little bit differently, but every time we survey students of kind of the junior high and high school grade levels, less than 50% of students say they use their locker regularly. So it's one of those things that, again, we're just really hesitant to assign too much space to, just knowing how little they get used in some cases.
That's fine. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Michelle, I think that number is probably lower at our high school, I would guess.
Wow.
I think Mr. Mater's kind of tracking that a little bit, and at some point may have an impact on the renovations and the design of the renovations at the high school. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
Is there, do you guys have a sense of how big the square footage is on the science rooms? As in, could you arrange the tables in a different way? It looked like it was just a model like we just thought about, Rose, but is there enough square footage to do lots of different seating arrangements there?
Yeah, and we'll talk through science in particular in a great level of detail. There are some kind of typical science layouts where we have casework around the perimeter and then tables that can pull up to them. We sometimes have stations spread throughout the room that have water and gas and that sort of thing, and tables can kind of huddle around them. So the science classrooms are definitely large enough that we can talk about what layout is going to be most flexible from a gas and water perspective to allow as many configurations during your day-to-day use as possible.
It's good to see the thumbs up. I like that.
Anything else, guys? I'm not seeing anything in chat.
I'll just
transplant a large tree into that area just to the left of the main entrance?
Potentially.
The intent right now is that's a sycamore tree, so we can watch the tree grow as the students grow.
Okay. Well played, Greg.
I think these things through, you know.
He does. I don't know about you, but I'm just so excited about what we've seen tonight. It's you know, as a group, and we've been looking at blocks and rectangles and squares and things like that, but to see it all come to life, at least in the form we're in now, and is really, you know, kind of a critical next step. And it's I mean, now we're really getting into it. I know there's a lot of work to be done. So maybe just a question for Allison and Greg. We're here now. What's in the short term in terms of the design for each of these buildings? Who are we talking to? What's kind of the next phase, maybe in general terms?
I can start that, and then Greg, please feel free to jump in. We are right now evaluating the estimates for both of these buildings as well as for Sims in the high school. We want to make sure that we're always staying realistic with what we're designing to make sure that it fits within the district's budget for delivery. So we're kind of working through that right now. We've gone through one round of department meetings with all of the different teachers and other staff members at all of the schools. So we're making changes right now to the designs to reflect the feedback that we've heard during those department meetings. And we'll be meeting with, if there were departments that things really needed to be modified to meet their needs, we'll be meeting with those departments again sooner rather than later. If things looked pretty good on the first pass, we'll be meeting with the departments to confirm things, probably right as soon as school starts again, in whatever shape that ends up being, so that we don't wreck anyone's summer break unnecessarily. While those department meetings are happening, we are going to be focusing on really meeting with the local jurisdictions. So meeting with the city of Montgomery and city of Blue Ash, make sure that they're on board with their designs. First responders will be meeting with us to talk about how they would handle emergency situations with these buildings and if they have any recommendations for making the buildings safer. So we'll be having those rounds of conversations. And then we'll be continuing to develop these models to become more and more realistic. So we'll start talking more about those materials, the actual types of flooring and finishes in the building, and just kind of taking everything to that next step of reality.
Yeah, and from a design standpoint, this community design group that we have gathered here today is just one of many design groups that we're talking with. As the district mandated from the very beginning, we want to be very open about this process, both kind of what we're talking about, some of the decisions we're making, and get input from everybody within the community so that this can really be a community-led design project. So we're going to be presenting these and sharing these with the junior high specific design team, the Green School specific design team, and then the two buildings that we didn't talk about, the high school and this Sims Elementary, we'll be sharing those with those design teams. And as we get feedback from the different groups, we'll be incorporating that into it and talking that second round of department meetings to get that next level of detail and design decisions made to really bring these to life. I mean, Frank mentioned that that these buildings are coming to life, and they certainly are, but you're going to be blown away in a couple months as we get through these next round of design decisions and really incorporate all of these material decisions and the colors. And once we get some of that in there, these buildings just really start to pop, and it gets really exciting at that point. So this is kind of first level excitement. If you can think of the next level of excitement, it's pretty fun.
So from your perspective, you know, when we get that next threshold of excitement, as Greg said, we certainly will aim for a time to bring that back to you and do a similar thing that we did tonight. Probably won't be this summer, obviously. We're going to let people kind of do their thing. But when we open school in whatever form that's going to look like in August, we'll make sure that we continue to engage you throughout this process. One of the other things that we always keep on our front burner is, where do we need to step out into the broader community and provide that update? And I know Mallory's recording this now, so we'll think about getting this in front of the broader community. I think from a, you know, kind of a most impacted by potential construction, we're considering right now, most likely at Green. You know, you've got neighborhoods that kind of surround that campus a little bit, and how we're going to engage our neighbors and engage them in a dialogue about where we're at and what's coming, and also do a lot of listening as to what their concerns are. You know, we've committed from the word go, this is going to be a transparent and engaged process, and we've held our end of the bargain on that, and we're not going to waver from that. So many more opportunities for input to come.
Although, Frank, with the way that we have this format set up with the digital, people can be on the beach or in the mountains on vacation, and they can still sign in and participate in the conversations. No longer do we have to make sure everybody gets into the same room. So this is kind of nice.
That's right. As long as you don't give me the controls of Zoom, everything will work fine. Okay. Any final comments from the group? I'm grateful that you spent some time with us tonight, and hopefully you came away as impressed as I have been throughout this process. But I'll open it up for any final comments.
I know this answer. I know this question's been answered. When are these two buildings scheduled to open? Do we know that?
So we're going to start construction on both of these buildings towards the end of the first quarter next year, start of the second quarter next year. Timing of being complete is going to still be in flux a little bit as we work out what's most economical from a construction timeline. We want to give the contractors enough time to build the buildings, but not too much time to build the buildings, because that can actually increase the costs as well. So I think that things are still debatable, I think, at this point. I think it's fair to say that they will be opening sometime between fall of 22 and fall of 23.
Yep.
So, yep.
That's right.
We'll know more soon, but unfortunately we don't have that pinned down exactly yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
Thank you.
You know, obviously there'll be simultaneous construction projects going on around our district.
Right.
So, you know, there might be some staggered openings of some of these schools and finished projects as they move along. So great question, Michelle. Thank you. Okay.
I will say that nothing inspires the next generation of architects like seeing a new building go up. So don't be surprised if you have a lot of future graduates that get into architecture.
That's a good thing. Okay, so to close, again, I'm grateful for all of you that you've taken time, and I need to close by just thanking Allison, Greg, and their entire team, many of whom are not even in the meeting tonight, for everything you've done for us to keep this process on track despite everything else going on. We are so blessed to have you guys with us, and you're so easy to work with and responsive to what we're thinking and you know, sometimes what we're demanding. And so we're lucky to have you as partners in this. So if there's no further comments, I will bid everyone a great rest of the evening. If your summer vacation plans, whatever those are coming up, enjoy them in whatever form they may be. So take care, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. And Mallory, I'll send you a link to the recording.